NFFE and the Wildland Firefighters that we represent, we got a tremendous win that we found out about yesterday morning, 5 a.m. yesterday morning. So that victory was part of that infrastructure package that was, passed in November. For decades and decades, wildland firefighters have been woefully underpaid. I mean, dangerously, woefully underpaid. And these people are doing extremely dangerous and extremely important work. If they don't perform their jobs, community is burned.
That's
People
right.
die.
That's right.
Yeah, I guess we should clap for how valuable that is to our So there's this thing called a Hotshot crew. A Hotshot crew is a group generally of 20 people. These are the most elite wildland firefighters out there. Think of like a Navy SEAL team of wildland firefighters. And they're outstanding. I mean, the work they do is just incredible. And on a typical hotshot crew, we would have about of 20 people. The pay being so low that about 13 are living in their cars. Okay. I mean, that's how bad it had gotten. And so, thank God we got some language in the infrastructure bill that is going to increase pay for every wildland firefighter.
All right.
$20,000. So sometimes the way it works is when a bill's being put together, you've been lobbying this for months on specific language, sometimes the issue for years. And then it comes together so fast that, you get offered language. You say, this is the language that we got, take it or leave it. And you go, well, that's not perfect language. We'll take it. We'll figure out the rest later. That's what we got with this Wildland Firefighter Pay provision in that infrastructure bill. And so here's what it said. It said every wildland firefighter is going to get a $20,000 per year pay increase. It's funded for only 2 years, but we've got to get started somewhere. Or 50% increase in salary, the lower of the two. So the lowest paid people, not quite 20,000, but that's a small percentage of people. And this is the bad language. The bad language said, and it applies where there's only in places where there's a problem recruiting and retaining wildland firefighters. I don't like that. I don't like that language at all. Okay. So then, it passes. We write some letters to the White House, to all the different agencies that have wildland firefighters. For the most part, the Forest Service, but there's others too. And we say, hey, you got to get this right. You got to do this nationwide.
That's
you
right.
got to do it
That's
ASAP.
right. That's right.
Sometimes it's difficult. You got several different agencies that got to work together, and sometimes there's some bureaucratic machinations. That you're not. I mean, everybody knows that government doesn't always listen and get things right. But in this case, this administration, because it cares about working people, because it respects unions, it listens to unions. Finally, we had a conference call about a month ago that a lot of our Forest Service folks were on. And we said, well, hey, what's taking so long for this raise? These people are out here starving. It's the middle of fire season. People are waiting on this. Where is it? I said, well, we're trying to figure out who should get it and who shouldn't.
Oh, wow.
I said, whoa,
Right.
hold on a second.
Right.
And then so we went to them and we said, hey, you're going to create a crisis in
There
this
you
country
go.
if you don't get this right. So listen good. People are on a razor's edge. And if you don't go nationwide, and by the way, they had already come. All the federal agencies had asked OPM, and OPM is the Office of Personnel Management. It's kind of like HR for the federal government.
Yeah.
And they said, hey, OPM, we need direct hire authority to hire, wildland firefighters right away, not going through a long process. Hire them right away because we're having such trouble nationwide recruiting and retaining. So they had already said it was nationwide, but then when it comes to giving people the raise that they deserve, now they gotta take some time to figure out, who they're gonna screw and who they're not. So he said, don't you dare do that. You do that, and one, you're gonna have people saying, I've been waiting for this. I'm the loyal few who've been, staying in this job when I could have made more anywhere else. And now you're gonna screw me out of this raise when it's finally my turn to be paid fairly. People are rational actors. They're gonna say goodbye. They're gonna say goodbye. And when you do that, now you're not gonna be able to put out them fires.
That's right.
And communities are gonna burn, and people are gonna die.
That's
So,
right.
so get this is a big decision. Get it right. And they listen to us. They listen to us. So, that makes me proud.
Yes.
That makes me proud. One, it kind of demonstrates our power a little bit. You know what I mean? Through the union, we go to the administration and we say, hey, can you get this right? It made me believe a little bit more in government. Who isn't a little bit jaded about how their government works for them? You know what I mean? But they got it right, and so now we're talking. We're celebrating. Some of we got Wildland Firefighters now. Probably have some here. There's some on Capitol Hill right now. But the other thing is they're not respected. They're called forestry technicians.
Yes.
One of the problems is that we're not called wildland firefighters. They're called forestry technicians. It's a little bit of a ploy a long time ago to pay them less. And so now we got a whole new job series that's being created that's going to permanently increase their pay, and they're going to be wildland firefighters like
Yes! OPM do that.
And so yesterday, we were celebrating this a little bit, and we had a podcast that was going on, and I talked to one of our wildland firefighters and said, last night I went to bed disrespecting forestry technician. Today I woke up respecting wildland.